Have you ever just looked around and felt like there's this huge reserve of untapped potential in the world? Maybe even inside yourself. Well, today we're going to dive into a really fascinating idea that this potential, this latent intelligence, isn't just waiting around to be discovered. It's actually being held back by the very systems we live in. Let's get into it. So this is the core idea that really kicks everything off. The source material is basically saying that we're not facing a shortage of smart people or good ideas. Nope. The real problem is that we've built a world that's just surprisingly bad at using the intelligence it already has. Okay, so if it's not a lack of brain power, then what is it? What are these invisible walls that are keeping us from solving bigger problems and reaching our full collective potential? That's the mystery we're going to try and unravel right now. All right, so the very first barrier we've got to tear down is this common belief that the world's biggest challenges are just, well, they're too complex for us to handle. But what if that's just a complete illusion? I mean, just think about a car for a second. It seems impossibly complex, right? You've got thousands of parts, all these intricate systems, and they all have to work in perfect harmony. How could any one person even begin to wrap their head around it?
Well, the answer is this really powerful concept, structured decomposition. It's kind of a fancy term for a super simple idea. You don't build a car. You build all the small, manageable pieces of a car, and then you just put them together.
And this process shows it perfectly. When you isolate each component, it's based on principles we can actually understand. The physics of stress and strain, the thermodynamics of an engine, the logic of an electrical circuit. None of this is magic. They're just focused problems that we've solved, one by one. So here's the crucial takeaway. A problem only feels impossibly complex when we can't see its underlying structure, or when we're denied access to those smaller pieces. Complexity isn't actually a property of the problem itself. It's a property of our perception of it. Okay, so if huge undertakings like building a car aren't fundamentally too complex, that brings us right back to our central question. What in the world are the real roadblocks that are stopping us? This is where it gets really, really interesting. The source argues that we're all living in these invisible cages, psychological and social traps that severely limit how we think and how we work together. And before we even touch on societal structures, the biggest hurdles are right here, inside our own heads. They're the default ways of thinking that we almost never stop to question. And you know what's wild is how familiar all of this sounds. We chase tangible goals because, well, societal betterment is just too vague. We follow trends because it's way easier than carving a new path. We value getting quick results over deeply understanding something. We let ego and hierarchy get in the way of actually learning from each other, and we let fear and short-term thinking totally paralyze any real long-term progress. These aren't outside forces. These are our own internal thought loops. And get this. These internal barriers are then reinforced by our external world. The way we structure our careers, our education, our institutions, it all just adds another layer to the cage. Seriously, think about it. Our systems push us to pick a lane early and just stay in it for life. Moving between different fields is seen as inefficient or flaky, but real innovation, the big breakthroughs, they almost always happen at the intersection of different disciplines. We have this super rigid system when what we really need is one that supports flexibility and adaptive growth. And here's the tragic consequence of all that. Instead of nurturing our collective intelligence, letting it grow in new and exciting ways, our systems just chop it up into these isolated, disconnected pieces. We're creating a world of specialists who can't talk to each other, which totally fragments our ability to solve the big picture problems. So after hearing all that, you might be thinking, this sounds pretty bleak. But the source material offers a surprisingly simple and honestly elegant way forward. And it all starts by defining what intelligence actually is. Okay, this is the big reveal. Intelligence isn't something you're just born with, like your eye color. It's not some fixed trait you either have or you don't. It's a process. It's a skill. It's something that can be learned, practiced, and improved upon. So what is this learnable process? How does it actually work? Well, it turns out to be incredibly straightforward. Here it is, just 4 simple steps. First, you act. You do something, you try something, anything. Then, you build a structure around that action. You organize what you saw and create a mental model. Next, you connect patterns. You see how this new structure relates to other stuff you already know. And finally, you iterate. You use that new understanding to act again. But this time, you're a little bit better.
It's a continuous loop of learning and getting smarter. I absolutely love this line from the source material. It just strips away all the mystique we've built up around the idea of genius. It's not magic. It's a simple, repeatable process that absolutely anyone can do.
Okay, so we've torn down the myth of complexity, we've identified the real barriers holding us back, and we've uncovered a simple four-step definition of what intelligence even is. So, what's the path forward? Where do we go from here?
Here is the ultimate takeaway. The problem isn't us. It's not a fundamental flaw in our ability to think. The problem is that our systems, both the ones in our heads and the ones in society, are completely misaligned with how intelligence actually works and grows.
So, we have this immense, incredible resource of human intelligence, but it's being trapped by these outdated structures. The solution, then, is to consciously design new systems in our schools, in our workplaces, even in our own minds that are built from the ground up to support that simple, four-step learning process.
And that leaves us with the final and most critical question. This isn't just some abstract thought experiment. It's a call to action. How do we, in our own lives and in our own communities, start building these new, flexible frameworks that can finally unleash the vast latent intelligence that is all around us?